Welcome to the Anniston Star. You're going to see an amazing combination of a manufacturing plant, a sales organization, an imagination, a word factory. And if you're at the end of the tour having trouble putting it all together, we understand, because we think of it as every time we put out a paper, it's a daily miracle.
Welcome to the Anniston Star, one of the last few family-owned newspapers in the country. Most newspapers these days are owned by large, distant corporations and run by managers whose loyalty may be more to a corporation than community. Time magazine has named the Star as one of the best smaller papers in the country, and a Columbia University study places it among the 30 best of any size in the United States. People want to be connected, and that's what we do. We print all of our company's newspapers here on an offset press we bought in 2002. We are a truly complete media company, covering a large market with publications and websites aimed at serving our readers and advertisers.
17th Street Missionary Baptist Church leads a community cleanup
The
day.
reporting process begins in the morning. Reporters consult with their editors on the stories they will be working on that day. Then the reporters spend much of the day outside of the newsroom, out in the community, talking with people, covering local government agencies, observing high school and college sports, profiling the interesting and unusual characters of our community.
We are practicing journalism. We're going to report on what they're going to do, what they're doing, and then we try to put it into the proper context of what's happened before, what looms before them, what decisions they face in the current. We're holding the public officials in our community accountable for their actions, for the money that they're spending that are the taxpayers' money. But also the idea of free expression. We love the vigorous debate. We think the vigorous debate among the editorials on our page, among the columnists, which is another way to express an opinion, among the letter writers, all that makes for a better democracy.
Though journalists have many more digital tools at our disposal than ever before, much of our work still comes down to several old-fashioned practices. The very low-tech method of talking with people is a key step in gathering and reporting the news.
Be good with language, know how to communicate with people who you don't necessarily have a whole lot of obvious things in common with. Get to know things about people who are different from you. That doesn't sound like language advice, but it is. You have to have an ability, to communicate, because you're going to be communicating to thousands of readers. You're also going to be communicating one-on-one with sources who come from all kinds of backgrounds and live and work in all kinds of circumstances.
The number one inherent trait in people that we look for in reporters is curiosity. A seeking out of how things work, a vast interest in explaining how things, and not merely things, but how people and institutions and how they work together. That innate curiosity is valuable to any reporter.
And so it's just a planning process. And so we spend the day working on that plan. The reporters are out reporting, photographers are out shooting pictures. As the stories are written, when those reporters start turning those stories in, the editor's job then is to read those stories, make sure that one is well written, that's top of the list, but also to make sure there are no questions, make sure that the stories make sense, make sure that if I'm just the common reader reading this story, that I can follow it logically. So that's the editor's job, and to edit the story that way.
Reporters now send live updates from the field to our websites while stories are developing. We engage our readers on platforms like Facebook and Twitter to share information and to get community input.
Journalism on the web, journalism in print, journalism on television, a lot of it's the same skill set. It's storytelling. It's being able to accurately tell a story, making sure that we pick the right tool to tell that story the right way. It can be a difficult choice, but making sure we get that story right, we're fair to everyone involved,
We get both sides of the story if there's two sides to it. Those are the kind of skills that are still necessary with the online news industry.
A lot of people have a misconception on the way revenue is generated in the newspaper. A lot of people think it comes from the rack sales and from home delivery, but typically in our industry about 80% of the sales are generated by the advertising department.
I'm Dolly Robinson. I'm the advertising manager here, and I manage the department that has anything to do with advertising. And what that actually entails is our sales reps, of course, that goes out and sells the advertising, the graphic artist that actually builds the ads, and then our dispatch that actually works on billing the ads and getting the proofs out and get the approval in.
Layout is the conduit for us and the rest of the company because it's through layout and dispatch where it's communicated with the newsroom on, okay, this is how many ads we have. Then the layout and dispatch will start negotiating with the managing editor on the number of pages that we're going to have within the given sections.
One of the first things I do is I have a meeting with a representative from the advertising department, and that person has collected all the ads that are going to be in the next day's paper. And the pages are laid out for the newspaper and all the ads are there. And so my job is to look at that and to see if there's enough space there for news that we have planned for the next day.
In their meeting, well, this story is going here, and this story is going here, and this story is going here. And then they, the news desk, writes the headlines, edits the copy, designs the pages, and then they design them on a computer screen. And then they push a button and it goes to the production facility downstairs.
Once they release the pages from up the newsroom or the sports department, what we do is we take a look at the pages, make sure the dates are correct, do a quick overview of the headlines, and make sure the ads are on there. At that point, they go into the computer to plate device. It images the plates, and then it comes through a pre-bake there and warms the plate up, and then it processes the plate. In turn, conveyors take that into a machine that's called a plate bender. It punches the plate and bends it for the purpose of placing it on the press.
The control center for the press is stored in the quiet room. It is here that our pressmen control ink, water, paper spreads, and newsprint waste. Any unusable or unsold newsprint is recycled for the next truckload of newsprint. Once the newspapers are produced and pass a quality check, they're conveyed to the packaging center. Our packaging staff consists of 20 loyal people, and they handle over 6 million pieces per month, so they're very busy. Our coverage market includes all of Calhoun County, Talladega County, and St. Clair County.
Just like the 11 o'clock news, the newspaper has to start on time because you have a limited amount of time to get that newspaper out. Basically, we start somewhere around 1 o'clock in the morning, and in 5 hours we've got it printed, we've got it packaged, we've got it delivered. We've got to look at some of the trucking areas. I mean, we will truck newspapers up to an hour away from here too. So you got to put that inside that distribution window that you have there to get that newspaper out by 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock on the weekend. So very limited time, and everything's got to go right.
After our newspapers and other products are printed and inserted with the correct advertising material, they are then trucked to drop areas for carrier pickup or to post offices where the products are delivered by the U.S. Mail. In addition to our printed products, we also maintain websites for the Star, the Daily Home, the Jacksonville News, the Cleburne News, the St. Clair Times, and Longleaf Style Magazine. The latest information is as close as your mobile phone or computer, meaning that we have a staff dedicated to making sure our websites are operating smoothly.
It's an interesting job because things are always changing. As we see, what we were doing a year ago is completely different than what we're doing now. And I suspect 6 months from now, we're doing completely different things then as well. But yeah, and to start with that, one thing to look at is the size of our audience online, which is amazing. It's a different medium than the newspaper, and we try to make sure that we present them as complementary to each other. Everything that you find in the newspaper, you don't find on AnnistonStar.com necessarily. On the same hand, everything in AnnistonStar.com is not in the newspaper.
But still, our newspaper, this newspaper and our others, are important to people's lives. We've done a lot of surveys, and people don't always like us, and we understand that. And that's not unique to Anniston, Alabama. It's true everywhere you go. But one of the things that we're very proud of is people believe us. They believe if you read it in the Star, or if you read it in the Daily Home, or if you read it in the Jacksonville News, it's true. And that's the biggest thing we got going for us, I think.
The things that print in our paper will be, and oftentimes, clipped out with great care and tucked away in a family Bible or tucked away in a scrapbook for a young high school student, and they have permanence, and they will last. And it's somewhat daunting, right? You have to think about that. Well, we gotta make sure we're doing this as best we can, because of course a lot of the paper ends up in tomorrow's birdcage, but a lot of it ends up in much more precious places. And we take great care with that. And that's an awesome responsibility.
Well, somebody coming into a newspaper for the first time is in a kind of magical place. It's a manufacturing plant. It's a factory of ideas. It's sales. It's everything all rolled into one. We are a centripetal society. We are always pointed to the center. We want to communicate. We want everybody to know our lovely daughter is married and our son scored the winning touchdown. Somebody has got to connect them. And that is our skill and our mission and our joy. It is the one institution, the one industry where we create a whole world every day.